So, Valentine's Day, right? It's not just about the cards, is it? There's way more going on under the
Oh,
surface.
absolutely. It's like everyone gets caught up in the flowers and chocolates, but the history behind it is wild and messy. It goes way back.
Way back being like ancient Rome, right? With all those fertility festivals and such.
Exactly. You've got Lupercalia, a wild festival that took place mid-February. It was all about cleansing and fertility.
Right, Lupercalia. So tell me, what exactly happened at this festival of cleansing?
Well, they'd sacrifice goats and dogs. Then these priests, called Luperci, would use the bloody hides to strike women.
Wait, what? So striking women with bloody animal hides was like a fertility thing?
Yeah, the women actually welcomed it. They believed it would increase their fertility. It was also a matchmaking time. Men would draw women's names from a jar and pair up.
Okay, that's a lot. It's pretty far from the chocolates and roses we have today, isn't it?
Totally. And it wasn't some chaste affair. It was a big party, kind of like a pagan spring break. It's thought to have honored the Roman fertility god Lupercus and Romulus and Remus.
Romulus and Remus, the guys who were raised by she-wolf, right? I remember that from grade school.
Yep. And, get this, the she-wolf's den, the Lupercal, is where it all began.
So what's the deal with Saint Valentine then? How did we go from bloody hides to hearts and flowers?
Well, that's where it gets murky. There isn't just one Saint Valentine. There are several, and it's possible they're all the same person.
Right, so which one is the Valentine?
The main story revolves around a priest who defied Emperor Claudius II, who banned marriage because single men were better soldiers, Claudius thought.
So this Valentine, he was going around doing secret marriages, huh?
Yeah, performing marriages on the sly until he was caught and tossed in the slammer.
And then that S when he supposedly wrote the first Valentine note to the jailer's daughter, the From Your Valentine?
Exactly. He befriended her, and some legends say he even healed her blindness. Before his execution, he wrote to her and signed it with that line.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful story. So it was this act that started the whole love message thing.
Well, it's one of the theories. But there's another Valentine, too, a bishop, also martyred. Their stories have just sort of blended over time.
That makes sense. And how did this all become about romance then?
Well, in the Middle Ages, the idea of courtly love, knights and their noble ladies, became a thing. Plus, they believed February 14th was the start of the birds' mating season.
Oh, right. So love was literally in the air.
Yep, and that's when the day really started being associated with romance and all that.
That's actually fascinating. So then we get Geoffrey Chaucer throwing in his 2 cents, writing about birds picking mates on St. Valentine's Day.
Yeah, in the 1300s, it really cemented the idea of the day as a romantic one.
What about the cards, though? That whole tradition, how did that evolve?
Well, it started with handwritten notes between lovers. And then in the 1400s, we have the first record of a Valentine's note from a duke to his wife while he was imprisoned.
Wow, that's a serious first Valentine. Prison love letter stuff.
Right. But by the 1800s, Valentine cards became mass-produced during the Victorian era. Super elaborate with lace, ribbons, all that.
Those Victorian cards were intense. Nothing like the ones we see today.
No way. And then you have Cupid, the chubby cherub shooting arrows of love.
Yeah, I always wondered where he came from.
The funny thing is, he didn't start out as a cute baby. Originally, in Greek mythology, he was known as Eros, the god of desire, more like a young man, kind of handsome and dangerous.
Dangerous? How so?
Yeah, he'd play with people's hearts, make them fall in love with whoever he wanted, even if it was a total disaster. He was like this uncontrollable force of passion.
So when did he go from being this heartthrob to a baby?
Well, the Romans adopted him, but they changed his image to a more innocent cherub and named him Cupid. They were intimidated by the original powerful, controlling god, so they infantilized him. By making him a baby, it's like he became more manageable.
Ah, so that cute baby is all about control, huh? That's kind of ironic.
It is. Renaissance artists picked up this imagery, and then when Valentine's Day started becoming big, card makers used the baby Cupid as a symbol of love. It was just, popular at the time.
Interesting how all those factors combined to make him the pointer boy for this holiday. But let's move on to the other stuff. What about candy? Where did the chocolate thing come from?
That's a good one. The whole box of chocolates on Valentine's Day started in the 19th century with Richard Cadbury. He was a chocolate manufacturer, and he was just like, hey, this is perfect for a love thing.
And it worked. Like, seriously, it worked. Now they're everywhere, in heart-shaped boxes and everything.
Yep, it was the perfect time for that sort of thing. New tech made chocolate more widely available, and people loved it and linked it with romance.
What about those little candy hearts with sayings on them? Those seem pretty iconic to Valentine's Day.
Those started out as lozenges, like cough drops, by a pharmacist Oliver Chase. His brother came up with the idea to print messages on the candy in 1866, and then they got their heart shape in 1901. So that's how we got them candy hearts.
From cough drops to love declarations, that's a glow up. So it's funny how things evolve.
It really is. And the tradition of giving flowers, especially roses, comes from the Victorian era. They had a whole language of flowers, and red roses came to symbolize love and beauty.
So all these things, they all come from different places, and they all kind of mix together to become what we now know as Valentine's Day.
Exactly. It's like a historical patchwork.
Yeah.
And it's not just celebrated in America either. It's all over the world in different ways, of course.
Like in the Philippines, it's a really popular day for weddings, right? I heard they have mass weddings on that day.
Yeah, mass weddings. Hundreds of couples getting married at once. It's quite a sight.
So looking back, it's kind of interesting to see how a feast day for a martyred saint morphed into a global celebration of romance with all the associated symbols.
Yeah, and it keeps evolving. Every year, there are new traditions and new trends. The core idea of expressing love and affection stays constant, though.
So a day of love built on stories of martyrdom, pagan rituals, poems, chocolates, and a baby with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, it's kind of wild when you break it down, right?
Absolutely. It's so much more than just a simple holiday.
It really is. It's a beautiful blend of history, religion, and, a good dose of romanticism.